they reflect upon what Ghulam Nabi Azad has said? Because what is really the big question? Has the time come for a non-Gandhi to lead the Congress, and importantly for the Gandhis to exit, as some are suggesting? Are they no longer the glue, the Gandhis that bind the Congress? Is this old guard versus new guard in the Congress, or is that a simplistic reading of what has happened in the last few days? Joining me now is Praveen Chakravarty of the Congress. He's chairman of the Data Analytics, and someone close to Rahul Gandhi joins me. Also joining me is Kaushik, Deka, executive editor, India Today, who tracks the Congress. Praveen Chakravarty, you may have heard Ghulam Nabi Azad saying, look, don't make this about old generation versus new. Number of people from the so-called new generation close to Rahul Gandhi have left, the likes of Jyotiraditya Scindia. This is not even personal about Rahul Gandhi, the individual. It's just about his style of leadership, which he says is just not good enough to lift the Congress from the morass it finds itself in. Your response to what you've just heard?
Rajdeep, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was a big leader of the Congress party. So I am very small to be able to respond to Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad. But all I will say is what I found interesting as when I was listening to the conversation was, as per his argument, all the victories of the party in various elections were because he was general secretary. But whereas when the party began to lose elections, it was all because of one person, Mr. Rahul Gandhi. I mean, I think this heads I win, tails you lose argument is a bit too simplistic, and it's quite dishonest to be fair. Now, like I said, Mr. Azad may have whatever complaints he has about the party, about the leadership, and he is free to discuss that, to air them, whatever he chooses to. But for us, for people like us, Ghulam Nabi Azad ji was a very big leader. I have realized that big leaders can also have small minds. If I were to simply ask you and maybe your other panelists, and maybe anybody in the Congress party, or even anybody outside, in the last decade, which year was the best year for the Congress party? Almost everyone would say 2018, correct? What was 2018 about? 2018 was about Mr. Rahul Gandhi being the leader of the party, where there was new energy, new ideas, new programs, new initiatives, which then led to electoral victories in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. The Congress party won 408 assembly seats in 2018 alone. That was not too long ago. And who was the president back then? So I think we must look at evidence also. It is all easy to throw around opinions masked as, or accusations masked as opinions. But the evidence is very clear. And if I ask anybody would say 2018 was the best year for the Congress party. So, like I said, I do not wish to retort or rebut Mr. Azad and indulge in wordplay and things like that. But like I said, I think he probably should have been a little bit more magnanimous given his stature in public life.
You know, I will press you though. The fact is that since you're saying that, 2018 was the best year for the Congress and it was Rahul Gandhi's year in a way, the fact is 2018 was followed by the debacle of 2019. And then Rahul Gandhi suddenly quits the party. Today, Ghulam Nabi Azad says one of the reasons is Rahul Gandhi went along the country saying Chaukidar chor hai. People didn't buy it. The senior leaders within the Congress didn't buy it. And then they were accused of betrayal. The fact is Rahul Gandhi, Praveen Chakravarty, has lost 2 consecutive elections, certainly 2019 under his leadership. You've lost 39 out of 48 state elections in the last 8 years. Is there no introspection? Is there no accountability? Look at what you did in Punjab. You removed a sitting Chief Minister and Captain Amrinder Singh, replaced him with Charanjit Singh Channi, who last heard is sitting in Canada, and Navjot Singh Sidhu, who's in jail. Now, who's accountable for making some of these decisions? I think what Ghulam Nabi Azad was also pointing out is that there is no accountability in this party. There is also power without responsibility.
Rajdeep, I think it is no secret that the Congress party's fortunes are probably at its lowest. I don't think that is a secret. Was merely pointing out that it is not just me, anybody. Wouldn't you agree that in the last decade, 2018 was the best year for the party? So I'm just saying, look at what happened in 2018. I have no quarrel with you when you say the Congress party has performed badly subsequently in elections. And yes, the organization has been without a full-fledged leadership for the last 3 years. I think those are known facts. I don't think anybody will dispute any of that. Now, as regards to accountability and whether Mr. Azad is right, like I said, I do not want this to be a tutu.
No, forget Azad. No, it's not about Mr. Azad. It's about accountability. You've come from the corporate world. If you continue to go quarter by quarter failing, over successive quarters, who is accountable? There are suggestions that have been made from time to time that are simply gathering dust, we are told. The question, therefore, I come back to it. Forget Mr. Azad for a moment. He is not relevant in a sense to the real crisis of the Congress, some would say. The crisis is one of accountability, one of people taking power with responsibility. You cannot outsource leadership, whether in a corporate or in a political party.
Yes, Rajdeep. I don't think we need to raise our voices to make the point that the Congress is not doing very well. I think we can say that even calmly. But the argument that the Congress party has to get full-time leadership and start to rebuild the organization, reconnect with the masses is, I think everyone would accept that. Now, it is in that context, as you very well know, that the party has set out its organizational election schedule. The party will get a president by end of October, as per the process that has been laid out. And there will be a fresh start and a new beginning for the Congress party, hopefully. I don't think it is now time. I think everyone acknowledges that this has not been the best time for the Congress party. I don't think there's any dispute there. Now the question is, that's why I said there is no point in just going back and forth about who is to be blamed and who has to take the blame. Listen, success as many fathers, failure is an orphan, as they say. So where we stand today is we have a clear schedule in front of us. We will have a new leader for the new president for the Congress party, not leader, sorry, but president for the Congress party. And that is hopefully the sign of return of the Congress party along with the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
Kaushik, Deka, you've heard Praveen Charavarkty suggesting that, look, we don't want to look at the past, we are looking ahead, we are going to hold elections after 20 years, we are going to set our house in order, we don't want to, this is not a blame game. Do you really believe that the Congress is changing in any way, or is Ghulam Nabi Azad right, that the Congress simply is caught in some kind of a status quo where they are just not willing in a way to give up on the Gandhis and at the same time not have a new leadership which is dynamic enough?
We'll know whether Congress is changing or not in a month. By next month, I believe they will have a new president or not, whether Rahul Gandhi returns or not, whether Ashok Gehlot becomes or Mallikarjun Kharge becomes, whosoever it becomes. We'll know that by next month, whether it's the same thing or there will be a change. But before they blame Rahul Gandhi also, the Rahul Gandhi is all powerful in Congress, but why? He quit in 2019. Technically, he should have no power. Why those senior leaders, most of the top leaders, senior leaders couldn't get together and elect one of them as the next president? What they did in 2019, they again persuaded Sonia Gandhi to become the president. Why the top leaders of the Congress who keep blaming the Gandhi family? Of course, Gandhi family has to be accountable. But Gandhi family also derives power from the fact that all the senior leaders try to build their political innings around this family. They have empowered the family. Even now, if Sonia Gandhi has requested Mr. Ashok Gehlot, he is not willing to take up the responsibility. You will go to other top leaders, they are not willing to take up the responsibilities. And if you look at Congress senior leaders, barring a few, most of them are building their political career on the mercy of the top family. They are not mass leaders, they are not they don't have organizational
that's
strength.
because, Kaushik, that
So,
suits the Gandhis
it's a
itself,
vicious
isn't it?
cycle. It's a
No, no, but,
vicious cycle.
no,
The
no, but that
Congress
suits the
needs
Gandhis
to
to
have
not...
that willingness to come out of that vicious cycle.
No, no, but that suits the Gandhis also not to have these strong regional leaders who might tomorrow challenge their leadership. We saw what happened with the Sharad Pawar, Mamta Banerjee in a previous generation. It almost seems, except for Rajshekhar Reddy, in the last 25 years, we haven't even seen a strong regional satrap really emerge in the Congress. So my question is, therefore, when the Ghulam Nabi Azads of the world say that, it's time to relook at the way the Congress is structured, are they right, or are they simply people who benefited from the previous structure? And now, because the party is out of power and the Gandhis are not seen as vote gatherers, they've chosen to split.
You are talking about regional satraps. They are not building regional satraps, and Gandhis want weak leaders. But look at Bhupinder Singh Hooda, look at Ashok Gehlot, look at Kamal Nath. Can Gandhis today dictate these leaders? Do you say Gandhis are all powerful? They have requested Ashok Gehlot to become the president. That matter should have been resolved that very moment. But Ashok Gehlot is not accepting that request.
Because no one wants power without... because you'll never... because he will see himself as Ghulam Nabi Azad described.
That kind of request, can someone turn it down?
No, that's because, Kaushik, they perhaps fear that they will only be figureheads.
That they have to ensure that there are no more figureheads. That's what I am saying, that Congress top leaders, group of leaders, why they can't sit together and ensure that yes, our party is facing disaster after disaster. If Gandhis are the problem, let's get rid of them and we will build a party. They will have to come up and take responsibilities. But instead, every leader you go to, they will say that, okay, let Gandhis remain at the top, because if I cannot be the top leader, let them be the top leader. At least I will ensure that someone else is not the top leader. So this is the problem.
It's a vicious circle, as Kaushik calls it. Praveen, as a final word, has the Congress got space for a non-Gandhi at all to lead it? Lead it meaning give him the power, give him or her the powers to actually lead it. Or is it that Rahul Gandhi wants to play this role of almost non-executive chairman or non-playing captain, while the older guard is not even pushed into a Margdarshak Mandal like in the BJP. So the Congress at the moment is like a ship in stormy seas without a captain at the helm.
Rajdeep, I think first of all, a lot of what you describe are just plain conjecture and casting aspersions. I don't know if Mr. Gehlot or any of those leaders have come and told you that they do not want power because they fear that they will just be a figurehead. I presume that is just plain conjecture. Now, second, we talk a lot about internal democracy, which I heard. As to the best of my knowledge, there is only one political organization in this entire country that chooses its head from the block level, district level to the All India level through an internal democratic process, and that is the Indian Youth Congress. You can go around and check that. And who created that? That is inside the Congress party, and that was very much the brainchild of Mr. Gandhi over a decade ago. When I got into the party, I heard that the same people actually criticize that internal process heavily. They said, who has internal elections to choose leaders? It should be just chosen and handpicked by the leadership and the high command, is what they would counter the Indian Youth Congress with. Now, I find it quite ironic that the same argument is now being twisted and asked for internal democracy. See, the question is not about Gandhis or non-Gandhis. This is a political party with a long history and an organizational culture. It is for the Congress party to decide who its best leader should be. If the Congress party's wishes of the best leader are not satisfied, or should the chosen leader not want to assume this responsibility, just like perhaps Sachin Tendulkar did not want the captaincy of the Indian cricket team, then maybe the Congress party will have a process to choose the next leader, and I think that process is very clearly before us. So like Kaushik said, we will know in a month, and until then, you perhaps have every right to be skeptical, but we will certainly know in a month.
Okay, we'll wait and see whether the Congress is ready not just to have a non-Gandhi as a leader, but more importantly to empower that individual to structure the party in a sense, in a manner that perhaps makes it more electable. I'll leave it there, Praveen Chakravarty and Kaushik Deka. The Congress always continues to fascinate in that sense, despite its declining election fortunes, because all of us, I think, want a strong opposition. and the Congress remains a true pan-India brand in that sense. So, Praveen Chakravarty and
We will
Kaushik.
be a bunch.
Okay, Praveen Chakravarty, Kaushik Deka, appreciate your joining us.